Good afternoon, good morning to everyone tuning in. Appreciate you guys joining us. Today I'm here with Romy from the Core of Horse, a fantastic Instagram account that I've been following for a while. And Romy is joining us from the Netherlands, so big shout out to her for being willing to jump on this late. And we're just going to talk about horsemanship and her journey and some of the cool stuff she gets up to because I know she has a really unique take on things. I'm excited to get to hear about it. Is there anything you want to add to let people know about yourself or what you do?
Well, my name is Romy, as you said, and I'm 22 years old right now. Um, the horses are my biggest passion at the moment, and there always have been. And yeah, I've kept on growing on this journey and learning more about horses and the way they communicate with each other. And by social media, I try to inspire others to look at them the same way as I do.
Yeah, absolutely. You do a great job. Your account is one of my favorites, not only because your words are so fantastic, but your images. And I know photography is a passion of yours, but your photos are just they're beautiful every time.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I sent you over a couple questions. Do you want to go ahead and let us
Yeah.
know like a little background about yourself, how you got started, what your passions within horsemanship are?
Yeah. Well, I've been around horses all my life, and I always had a huge fascination for them. I've been around horses since I was a kid, since I was 4 years old. You can find me in the saddle. The fascination about horses became bigger over the years, and right now I can definitely say that it's my biggest passion. Um, when I was younger, around 8 years old, I had a hard fall from a bigger horse, which left me with a lot of anxiety around horses, especially the riding part. But funny enough, I never stopped experimenting with this anxiety on the ground. It almost never felt like anxiety on the ground. It was only on horseback. Um, when I grew older, I started to develop more into groundwork. First started with trick training, which taught me a lot about the way how a horse learns and the brain activity of a horse. Um, and it taught me a lot about my own body language in groundwork in general. So how I could steer a horse, how I could read a horse, which calmed down my anxiety about the unknown about horses. You know, when they do something you don't expect, how do you react? And the anxiety I had was a lot that I didn't have to control about the situation, because you can't talk to a horse. Well, you can, but not with words, you know. Um, so despite my anxiety, I tried to develop myself and to just keep pushing myself over the boundaries to let go of it. Um, and it took me some time, because it started with when I was 8, and I think I lost it completely when I was 15 years old. Then I could let it all go and not think about it anymore, especially about the question, what if? um like when you're riding and you see something coming towards you, like a car or a biker, and you're like, oh my god, no, what if he spooks? And
Right.
right now I switched off that button completely, because right now I know what my horse will do, because I can read their body language. And that's all what groundwork gave me. So natural horsemanship is something that really helped me, liberty work, to do that and to be confident on my own. And right now I can help other people with anxiety, or people that really don't know how to read their horse when they have problems with their horse. Yeah, and right now they call me and I come there and I fix it and let them see, this is what you need to look for, and this is what they're telling you. So I'm actually a horse translator most of the time. Um, if you ask me what method I use, because that's what you asked in the question, like in the background, I find it always very hard to answer, because
Good
not
question.
if I say to you, this is my training method that mostly means that I use that on every horse, and that's just not the case because every horse is different. What you work with, there are individuals. So with every horse, I try to train them, yeah, like what fits them. So sometimes I go more to natural horsemanship. The other times I look more like the academic art of riding. It just depends on the way of learning and how their brain works. It's just like children in school. So yeah, that's a little bit about how I train and how I think and how I got here.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Maybe the better word than method is like philosophy, which I think you answered nicely, the philosophy of the individual. I think that makes complete sense, and I know most people would
Yeah,
agree, you know,
that's
finding a one size fits all.
extremely important.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's so important that you I try to people tell people that constantly that sometimes I have people that bought a new horse after their first because it passed away or it's too old to do something with it, and then they're like, yeah, but my with my other horse it went just fine, and then I'm like, yeah, because it's a different horse.
It's a different
So
horse.
you yeah, but you know, it's you don't see a lot of people that really think, oh, um they're individuals. That's something
Hmm.
that you don't see a lot yet in the equestrian world at all. It
Yeah.
does become more, but yeah, you do see that it's sometimes still a problem where a lot of problems start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big deal, and I think a lot of issues could be avoided if we were able to recognize that, individual aspect of each horse and work around it or work with it, um, working for them rather than against them. Awesome. I really appreciate the thoughtful answer. You mentioned that you've been giving lessons. How did you get started in that, or what kind of prompted that for you?
Well, that was because I never imagined myself to work with horses as my job because
Hmm.
it's a very a job here in the Netherlands that a lot of people want to do, and you can't rely on it, like money wise and everything. It's very unpredictable.
Yeah.
So I chose to have a profession next to it, which is photography, which is also actually unreliable, but um, that doesn't make any sense. But I chose to do that because I like to have a creative side,
Mhm.
and which went really good. But in the meanwhile, I always started to share my adventures around horse because the passion was so big. And on my own social media, like my private, people were always like, oh, the horses again, and oh, another horse. And I was like, okay, I need to get rid of that on my private social media and
Yeah.
start a second account. And I first started on YouTube, which was very small, and I just shared some videos like with my photography and more like videography, like good videos, you know, with music under them. And eventually I went to Instagram, and it all started just for fun, but eventually I grew and people were wondering and sending me questions. Sometimes on a day I had 5 to 10 messages in my inbox with questions about training and about their horses and if I could help them. And I was a little bit amazed, like, oh my god, do these people want to learn from me? Why? um, and I just messaged them back every day, and every day I got new messages. And eventually someone reached out to me like, do you give lessons on location? But right then I was 16 years old, and I didn't have a car, I didn't have my driver's license yet, so I couldn't come on location. And then I came with the idea, what if I host a training camp at my own place, because my horses are at home, I have place, I have all the facilities to give people with their horses. um, So yeah, still know that moment that I picked up my phone and I was like, oh, this is a good idea. And I went live on Instagram, very confident, and told people about my plan, like I want to do this and this. And people were very positive in the comments. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to make that reality. And on that evening, I was making everything on my laptop, on the website and everything that people could sign up. And before I knew it, it was completely full. And I was hosting 2 training camps that summer. And I was like,
That's
what?
awesome.
Yeah, it was like mind blowing because people really paid me money to come at my place to learn from me 3 days long. And yeah, right now I'm doing it already for the 4th year this year. And this summer I'm
Oh,
hosting four
wow.
training camps. And yeah, eventually when I got my driver's license, I also offered people to give lessons on location and online lessons. And yeah, it's going very well. So yeah, all because of social media. And I was always a little bit afraid if I'm going to work with horses, maybe I'm going to lose my fire because then you're also working with it. So
Yeah.
then it feels maybe more like a duty. But right now, it's all passion. So every time I work or give lessons, then I come home and I'm full with energy to do even more. So yeah, it never feels like a duty.
That's great. I mean, you can tell just by looking at you that you love this. It just totally lights you up. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
What do you think is your favorite part about teaching?
Probably I have. I'm just going to give an example. I teach one little girl, which is 8 years old right now. She's going to turn 9, and she has an Irish cup, a very strong Irish cup that's very sensitive. And she fell off her horse, and then also got anxiety, exactly like my story. And right now, I'm helping her to grow over her anxiety and with groundwork and everything. And last week I got a picture from her mom that she was sitting on her own horse again on the Irish Cup, like, oh, she's sitting on it again. And that just lights up my heart. So to see people make steps with their horse they never thought that would happen ever again, yeah, that's the most rewarding from all.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. What a cool thing that you're able to give to her.
Yeah. Yeah, because I could, when I teach her, I see myself, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I wish I had somebody back then that just told me to perfect the way of groundwork and to make those steps. And
Yeah.
of course, I had people around me that helped me, um, but it was never like, take your time and look at your horse. This is what he's doing. He doesn't mean it's mean to you. And eventually you see her blossom, and right now she doesn't even think about it anymore and she just does it. So
That's great.
when, yeah, the first time I said to her, okay, we're going to put him on the circle, she started crying because she just completely froze. And right now when I say, okay, put him on the circle, she just does it and she points and the horse goes and she's smiling, and I'm like, yes,
Oh,
this is perfect. And that's also with grown-ups that I help, and um, people that have problem horses, which are never the problem itself, but um, yeah, you see them change, you see the horse change because the owner change.
mhm.
So yeah, that's the most
Absolutely.
rewarding.
Oh, for sure. That sounds really fun. All right, so that's the most rewarding. What's the most challenging thing that you're facing currently, like either in your own horsemanship or with your business?
Um, well, that's also customers, of course. Sometimes, yeah, of course. Sometimes people want to move too fast. So
Oh,
they come to me, they have a problem, or yeah, and then suddenly you come the next week and they already did a lot of things, and you see the horse just block and freeze, and then like you need to take it very slow and reward every step
mhm.
you make. And not to make jumps, but steps, very tiny steps, because
Yeah.
even if the horse is a fast learner, it needs tiny steps. So yeah, that's the most challenging, to actually train the patience of the human.
Yeah. Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure. I think humans get so locked into like the end goal, they forget all the pieces that build that. Um,
Yes, exactly.
and communicating that even to ourselves can be definitely be a challenge.
Yeah, and it's normal that we sometimes get frustrating. I also still have that with my own horses when I'm busy. And Oliver, that's a tiny little one we have here, that escapes, and then you're like,
Yeah,
just do what I say, you know.
yeah,
So it's normal, but when you work with a horse, especially that already has a problem, then your patience, oh, it needs to be very big. And
yeah,
if it's not, then the horse will mirror you. And
yeah.
yeah, so that's very challenging sometimes.
What do you find like personally helps you to have more patience with your horses? Because that's something I struggle with all the
That's a very good question.
time. Sorry, I'm going a little off script, so let me know if it's too much.
No, 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 it's fine. What I actually sometimes do when I notice that I'm getting frustrating, especially on horseback, is just give myself a timeout. So give
Mhm.
myself in a halt and think about it and why I'm getting frustrated. Maybe it's because something isn't working out, or like today when your carry was so high energy because of the weather change. I was completely holding him back, and then I'm also like, oh, just calm down. There's nothing wrong, and calm down. But then I also think, yeah, it's normal that he does it, because yesterday we had snow and right now the sun is shiny, because this horse
Yeah.
is completely confused. So then you just need to completely think about, why am I getting frustrated, and
Mhm.
is is it good that I'm getting frustrated, or am I just making a big thing out of nothing?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you need to train your own patience, and if you um, think that your frustration level gets higher on the end of the ride, just make your ride a little bit shorter so you don't
Mhm.
get to that point. And
Yeah.
eventually you can make it longer again. Or with groundwork, it's exactly the same. Sometimes we hold a little bit too long on the hour. You know, we need to work with the horse an hour long.
Right.
Why? Because yeah, sometimes 20 minutes can be enough for horse and
Sure.
human. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that's the main thing I do to keep myself calm, and also um yeah, honest to the horse, because when
Mhm.
you're frustrated, you're absolutely not honesty to the horse, you know. Then you
Yeah,
can
I think that
sometimes
makes complete
react.
sense.
Yeah, you can react in a little bit of a snappy way, in a bitchy way. And we don't want that. So yeah.
No, of course not. I think that makes sense. And the shorter sessions I have found tend to be more impactful for both of us. Like my horse leaves and he's like, oh, well, that wasn't so bad. And he comes back the next day a little bit more like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, well, we're only
Yeah.
going to be out here for 15 minutes, so whatever. And then you'll go graze me or, whatever you do. Um, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So which
and
horse?
I think
No, go ahead.
it's very. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Go
Sometimes
ahead.
sometimes it's just important to keep sessions short. Of course, you don't need to keep them short every time you work. I also sometimes ride an hour, sometimes even longer, so an hour and 50 minutes. But sometimes I also stop after 10 minutes. If I'm happy and the horse is still happy, then I'm just, okay, we did a great job today, and that was our job. Now you can rest again in the paddock or at the grass.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that makes complete sense. Absolutely. Um, kind of following in the vein of the next question, what horse inspired you or helped you get to this place with your horsemanship?
Well, I have two, and you already probably know them because I still have them.
I've
Um,
guessed.
the the first one is Eastern. Eastern is my Connemara pony. He is now 24 years old. He's turning 24
Oh,
this year. Um, and I got him when I was 11 for my birthday, and it was
aw,
the step from a Shetland pony to a horse. So it
okay.
was a very, very big step. I immediately got to a horse size. Um, so well, he's a very big pony. Let's say that. But
Okay.
in my eyes, it was a horse back then.
Oh, for sure,
Um,
absolutely.
so yeah, I got him when I was 11, and I had always the wish to compete, and that wish always grew bigger when I got older, so especially around the age 14, 15. And I trained very hard with Eastern, especially that year when I was thinking, okay, now I'm going to start and I'm going to compete. And I really had the goal to compete on a high level. But eventually I was too caught up training and pushing him, and
Mm.
eventually he said, no, no, you're going way too fast. So yeah, actually he learned me what I struggle sometimes with clients.
Okay,
uh,
yeah.
he taught me that time is one of the keys of training.
Uh-huh.
um, and he just stopped me right there, like, no, you're going too fast. And he told me that by rearing up, and he reared up very high. Sometimes he went through the fence while rearing up. It
Wow.
became dangerous. And
Mm.
I struggled with them a lot because I didn't know at that moment why he was doing it. um, I let him check by the saddle fitter. He went to the vet. I was like, does he have pain or anything?
Right, right.
But the funny thing about it all, my mom could get him and saddle him up right, and nothing went wrong. So
Mm.
then I was like, okay, he's definitely
It's
pointing at
me.
me like, you're the villain right now. So then I changed things up completely. I stopped riding him because also he really pushed that bottom anxiety again. Like,
Yeah.
so I was like, no, I don't want to go back to that. So I stopped riding him. I just let it go of the competing at that moment. And I started doing groundwork, and eventually that he was telling me that I was going too fast. He also did it on the ground, so he reared up on the ground, and sometimes he was so impressive when he did it, because then you have a huge horse in front of you that was
Oh,
rearing up against you. And you could tell him no, like, no, we're going to do it like this, the hard way. But he was only getting worse. It was like fire with fire. And eventually I really noticed that I was starting to notice, okay, I'm doing so many things wrong right now. And I started to develop more into groundwork. And eventually it was just over. We could ride again. I really picked it up slowly again. So it was not like, okay, today we're going to ride again and let's go. It was, first I started bareback, then I started to at the saddle again, like I was backing him up again. um, and yeah, I think 2 years later from that moment, I just said, okay, I'm not going to compete anymore, because then I'm going to see a side of myself that I don't like. Um, because then you're also getting judged, and sometimes you take that personally, you want to train
right,
harder.
right.
And I just thought, no, it's not my thing. I don't want that with my horses. And I just want to have a relaxed environment and feeling for myself. So the pressure went off completely. And
Nice.
yeah, we could do everything at home. And eventually we really reached a high level in dressage at home. I just didn't compete. It was just for ourselves. He did
Nice.
everything I wanted. So flying changes. Eventually, the last year that I rode him, because not right now he's retired, we even did a tiny bits of passage, and that was just
Aw,
my biggest dream come true, to have that feeling on him. We really had the feeling that we melted together.
that's
And
wonderful.
yeah, he really taught me a lot. He taught
That's
me so
fantastic.
many things about um letting go control and not, let the horse work for you, but really work together and give it
Mhm.
time and keep the trust in it. So yeah, he is like a key to my horse life. And he really taught me a lot. So sometimes when I'm giving a lesson and I see some things in horses that I think, oh, it's exactly the same like Eastern, then you can translate that very easily. And the second horse is Yakari. And Yakari is actually a horse that I bought because I knew that one day Eastern will retire. And I bought Yakari for that. So I still had a riding horse. And Yakari was my biggest dream. I
Okay.
always wanted to educate a young horse on my own.
Yeah.
And I bought him when he was 3 years old. So, and he did already knew a saddle on his back and a rider on his back, but he had a huge fear for getting on. So then he
Mm-hmm.
would jump away, and
Mm-hmm.
um, the tension went so high that eventually, when you got on his back, it really took him like 20 minutes to calm down again. So
Wow.
I decided myself to do it all over again. Um, so I stopped also riding him. I sat on him 2 times when he got here, and eventually I started doing groundwork only um, for 6 months or so, and then started backing him up myself, which went very good, very because he trusted me on the ground.
Yeah.
So then you can make that step on the back of the horse, because I always tell people, why are you going to sit on a horse when you know that on the ground is also not good?
Yeah, that's a
Like,
good point.
that's confusing. First the
Sure.
ground, then on horseback. And that's something that Yukari really taught me. And also he taught me how to deal with a horse that goes in freeze mode. um Eastern
Mm-hmm.
is really outgoing, so when he doesn't like something, he let me know immediately. And
Yeah.
Yukari is like, oh, what's happening, and
Yeah.
block and freeze, and then you can't get through him anymore. And it was all about confidence. He needed something that was confidence, that could lead him, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
he needed. And um, that was hard because I'm not quite of a confidence person myself
Yeah.
when it comes to horses, because of the past. And because of him, I developed that more and more over time. And right now, I can truly say that I'm very confident around horses because I know um, what they're doing, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So
That's
um,
excellent.
yeah, Yukari is just also very, very big in my horse life at the moment. And right now, he's on a level that I couldn't even dream of, and I all did it with him, so all alone. And
That's wonderful.
he's doing great. Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's really cool to see that you've been able to bring him from that space of being kind of like a scared child into this really,
Yeah.
exuberant and enthusiastic adult that we get to see on Instagram.
Yeah, because when he got here, when he got off the trailer, because when we tried him at his place before here, um, he was very relaxed and just calm like he is right now. But when he
Mm.
got off the trailer, he was very big, very stressed. And he got here and he ran, and I was like, with my mom, I was like, what did I do? I don't think I can do this. And, and right now I'm just like, oh, I can imagine a life without him.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Do you take lessons from someone or are you mostly self-taught? I'm curious.
Um, Mostly I'm self-taught. I sometimes do go to a lesson or let someone come, but that's mostly for the basic dressage things.
Hmm.
But I must say that my vision on dressage also changed over the years. So
Yeah.
right now I'm really self-taught, and just by reading books and watching videos of other trainers around the world and
Mhm.
just trying it at home and see what I can do with it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's so much. I'm a big fan of reading and books, and yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
so much you can learn from that. Um, it's a really powerful tool. While we're on the topic, I'm gonna skip ahead. What are like three of your top books? And it's okay if they're, Dutch or whatever, but what are some books that you recommend?
No, I read them down. I think you know the first one. It's from Gustav Steinbrecht. Do you
Yeah,
know that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the Gymnasium of the Horse. It's such a good book. I think everyone should read it. It's old literature that's translated
yeah,
to New English, so like modern English. It's very tough to get through, especially if you're not English.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, he writes in such a good way. And of course, some things are outdated,
Sure,
but
sure.
that doesn't mean that there are very good things in there. And
Absolutely.
I think that's also a common mistake people make, like when they read one thing that they're like, oh no, I'm not going to do that, that they just skip the whole book.
Yeah.
Or and then I'm like, no, just forget that and just read on.
Right, right.
so yeah, but it's a great book, and it's about academic dressage, and it gives you a whole other perspective on the modern dressage and how many things there
For
are
sure.
wrong.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's an incredible book. You should really read it. And the second I wrote, there are actually more. Like the
Oh, no
second
worries.
one is from Ben Brandrup. He has a lot of books. So he has the one of Art of Writing, and under there are subjects, so it's launching, horsemanship, writing, and I think everything that man writes or says or is something you need to hear. I
Mhm.
went to a clinic from him,
Oh, wow.
I think
I'm
two
jealous.
months ago, and I just sat there 2 days long, and I could watch his lessons, and um, yeah, everything he says, he has so much knowledge, and
Yeah,
when you see it, it all makes sense. That you're like, oh, it's so simple when you
yeah,
see it, but when you're doing it, you're like, oh my god, this is hard. And
yeah,
his
for
books are
sure.
also very easily to read. So yeah,
Yeah,
also very, very much recommend him to read everything that he writes.
yeah.
Um,
He's incredible.
yeah, and third one I wrote down is Horse Brain, Human Brain by Janet
Oh, mhm.
Jones.
Yeah,
And yeah, that book really tells you a lot about how the horse brain works. So how they
yeah.
see, how they smell, yeah, how they taste, everything is
Mhm.
in there. And um you get a lot of perspective how their brain sees things
Yeah,
in just daily life, because we don't think about how they see jumping poles,
right,
or
right.
why they react so weird on a shadow. But this book explains why they do such sort of things. And um, yeah, I really think there is a lot of knowledge that every horse trainer should know, and I didn't know a lot of things when I read this book. I was like, oh my God, does that work like that? Just wrote it down. So yeah, I really recommend reading The Horse Brain, Human Brain. It's a very good book. And also, she wrote it very lightly. So it's not a very hard turns or words.
Mm-hmm.
It's just easy written, so everyone understands what she's talking about. Because sometimes I read a book and I'm like, what does that mean? And I need to translate it. But no,
Yeah,
she
for
was
sure.
very easy written and illustrated and everything. So yeah, very good book.
That's great. Yeah, those are all excellent recommendations. Absolutely. I love um that you're touching on the academic dressage, but also like the horse anatomy and psychology side of things, because I think those two things layer in together so nicely. And it's hard to really have one without the other. Well, I guess you can have the psychology without the academic, but it's
Mhm,
important to
mhm.
have both of those things going on. So I think that's a great starting place for anybody looking to expand their knowledge for sure. I guess I'll bop back and ask you the last question real quick since we skipped over it. But what's one thing about your horsemanship that almost no one would agree with you with, or like that maybe you don't see in the mainstream as often?
um, that's to be satisfied about taking a step back. So
Oh, great
sometimes
answer.
Yeah, sometimes we think a lot about making steps forward and going too fast, but
Hmm.
I think that sometimes making a step back is the best thing you can do. Like as when something doesn't go good on with writing, then just take a step back to groundwork and see why.
Hmm.
um I think a lot of people are a little bit stuck in the future, and sometimes you just need to take them a little bit back. So yeah, probably that, just to be satisfied to take a step back. I rather have people take a step back than just stand still and don't
Sure.
know anything
Yeah,
what going on.
absolutely. That's a great answer, and definitely one that I personally can see in my own horsemanship or my journey with my thoroughbred right now, where it's like lots of two steps forward, one step back, three steps forward, one step
Yeah,
back type of thing.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I
it's
think
just
that
like
that's a great
life.
answer. Yeah, it is always. Absolutely. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. So I just want to like, if people are listening and they want to know more about your work and what you do, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me under the name The Core of Horses on Facebook and on Instagram. I also have a Dutch website, but
Oh,
if
okay.
you're Dutch, then it's thecoreofhorses.nl.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for jumping on and joining me today. I really appreciate it.